what is going on? It's your boy JP bringing you a Yu-Gi-Oh! Rumor discussion video. Now, there's been a few rumors going on recently about rule changes, and I just thought to myself, you know, I haven't done some sort of discussion video in a while, and this is a topic that I'd kinda like to give my thoughts on, so here we are. I'm gonna be giving my full thoughts and opinions on the whole rumor of the life points changing and the pendulum mechanic. So, by the way, I'm just gonna say the two changes that's going on first, and then I'm gonna give my opinion of, you know, one by one, just so people aren't confused. So there's been two rumors going around recently. Some people say they're leaks, but they're really just rumors. So the first one is life points apparently going up to 12,000. And I'm not going to say anything just now. So, yeah, it used to be 8,000, or still currently is, and it's possibly going up to 12,000. The second rule that's being changed is no pendulum summons on first turn. Now, they haven't really clarified if they mean your first turn, or the turns that scales are set, or the first turn of the whole match. So, we can't really say much on that topic. I'm just going to assume it's the actual first turn where you don't draw a card, you know, the first, you know, play the game, the first, this isn't Overwatch, you know, the first actual turn, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinions on these. I also want to hear yours down in the comments below, so leave your opinion, because these are some big rule changes, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I feel like mine's probably going to be really different to some other people's, but anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the life point change. Now, I just want to say I've been playing this game ever since I was going to say ever since it really came out, ever since I was a really young kid. Ever since, you know, I actually had my own conscience. Like, I've been playing it for the longest time I can remember, and I've been watching the anime my whole life. And I still play the game, by the way. I love it. It's my favorite card game. And the reason I'm saying this is it's been 8,000 for so long. It's kind of just a classic Yu-Gi-Oh thing where it's really always been 8,000. It's been it for such a long time. It's been 8,000 in tournaments, just playing with friends. It's always been the traditional thing. Whenever you hear life points, you're like, oh yeah, 8,000. And I don't really want that to change, because it's just always been set at 8,000 as a good number. Where in the anime, it went from 2,000 to 4,000 to 8,000. 8,000 going by the movie, you know, Dark Side Dimensions, but really 8,000 is just a good, staple, decent number. It's twice of 4,000, and 8,000 I think it's just perfect. Where especially back in the older days when the game was slower, it was just good. It'd have good, decent length matches, and with 8,000 life points, your opponent really has to make some sort of really good board, or you have to defend yourself, or, you know, just do a push or anything like that, where 8,000 is just a good, solid number, where it's just perfect in my opinion. And the fact that they're changing it, I just don't like the idea of it. Now, a theory going around, and I believe this, is the reason they're changing it is since the game is becoming so fast, and, you know, there are a lot of OTK decks and all. They're trying to get rid of that and make games actually last longer. But the thing is, 4,000 life points, that's really not going to change much, because at the end of the day, people are still going to end up having like 1k or not very much left, 3k, there's not much at all. So there's not really much of a point. And I don't know, like, I don't agree with what people are saying with the slow down the decks. Like, sure, ban list. Use the ban list well, actually update it every couple months, that'd be awesome. But don't go on like errata and cards. I hate erratas, but that's for another video. And it's like they could just use the ban list more effectively. It could work, but in some degree, because with new archetypes, it'd be hard. Because, I don't know, they could really do the ban list really well and make it more solid. But then people would have to adjust to slower decks, so, you know, it would just be like going back to the older days, and it would just be confusing for people. But really, 8,000 to 12,000, I'm not really too keen on the idea, just because 8,000 is a solid number. It's been that way for such a long time. 12,000, like, it's fucking 5 digits, and it's just too much, you know? Like, if you're gonna watch an anime, you see 12,000, you sit there like, what? If you see 8,000, like, hey, that's a good number. I don't know, I just don't like it. Sure, it can get rid of OTKs, but I don't know. It's just not my thing. I think they could have done something else, or I mean, they haven't changed it yet. I hope it doesn't happen. Call me a classic player or anything, but it's not even just that. I just think 8,000 is a good solid number, perfect. I'm not very keen on 12,000 life points at all. I'm sure I've gone over this topic enough. You don't want to hear me ramble about it, so that's my thoughts on the 12,000. It's unnecessary in my opinion, and they can just work around it. I don't think life points should be changed ever because of 8,000. Should just be staple, unchangeable, and nothing like that. So anyway, let's go over to the next topic. So the next rumor going around is no pendulum on the first turn. And to a degree, it makes sense because of a lot of people are like, oh, this is busted, this is overpowered. So yeah, if you can't do it on the first turn, kind of, limits its power to an extent. But the thing is, my opinion is, if you're going first and if you're playing a Pendulum deck, a lot of decks really resolve around Pendulum if they are Pendulum. Pure Pendulum decks are very reliant on the Pendulum summon. So if there was a pure Pendulum deck versus another just regular deck, it'd be kind of hard for them to keep up because of they'd really the only way they really do something is by setting the scales and Pendulum summoning. But without that, it's very limited. The only thing that really be able to do to make a field to defend themselves, especially against these OTK decks, is do some sort of defensive thing with their effects. But the thing is, a lot of pure Pendulum decks don't really have a huge variety of things, especially like the really old original Pendulum decks. Their effects weren't the greatest. Sure, modern day Pendulums might have a better chance, but I think it's just unfair to Pendulums, especially the pure old Pendulum decks, because of they won't really be able to do anything. And sure, a lot of people hate Pendulums, but how I see it is, I know this doesn't count toward tournaments, but if you like Pendulums, just verse another Pendulum player or someone else who doesn't mind them. If you don't like Pendulums, just don't use a Pendulum deck and don't verse people who use Pendulums. Just verse people who use other decks. But when it comes to tournaments, I know you don't really have a choice because of everything's allowed. But at least if you're not playing competitive, you don't have to verse Pendulums if you don't want to. Just don't. You're not forced to verse him, so don't hate him, just don't use him, you don't have to see him around. I apologize, I hear yelling inside my room, so it's distracting me. But yeah, so a lot of people complain about Pendulums, just don't verse Pendulum decks, it's not that hard. If you're playing tournament, well, you really can't do much, and my point kind of, doesn't work, but yeah, at least if you're not playing in tournament, don't verse him. And also, Pendulum decks really would just be dead if they can't Pendulum someone the first turn. And even if they do bump up the life points, not much will really change. It'll just be bad for Pendulum players. It's basically killing him. Especially to playing a pure Pendulum deck, especially to playing something which don't have effects like a vanilla Pendulum deck. It'd be impossible to be able to do anything, because if you can't Pendulum someone the first turn, what really are they gonna do? Sure, you don't like the Pendulum mechanic, it's just ruining it. It's ruining the whole mechanic, and it's really not that bad. You just need to relax with it. And I don't know, honestly, my opinion, it's just ruining Pendulums if they add that feature. It just doesn't make sense to me. And it's just unfair because of you can synchro summon and all that on your first turn. Why not Pendulum summon? I don't get it. And a lot of people say, make it so they don't go to the extra deck. Dude, that's what it was there. It was like that originally. It's actually a really cool feature. You just gotta learn to appreciate and respect what it is for what it is, So in my honest opinion, I think the no Pendulum first turn feature should not be applied, because I think it should just be what it is for what it is. They shouldn't really change anything about Pendulums. And I'm not saying this in a sort of way where I'm just like, I don't want this because if I play Pendulum decks. Nah, the only Pendulum deck I play are DDDs, and you don't even need Pendulums in it. You literally just use effects and summon and all that. You don't need to set scales at all. It's You really don't. You can win games without setting scales at all, like even one. You don't really need it. Sure, it can help, but you really don't need it. And if you do use pendulum cards, use it for the pendulum effect more than anything. So I'm not saying it in a way where I just play pendulums. So I just honestly think it should just be it should just be untouched and kept what it is. I just think it's fine. Players just need to learn to respect it and keep it for what it is, because of people always hate the newest thing. And sure, people, like a lot of people are like, yeah, but pendulum's overpowered. Just don't verse them. Just learn to live with it, because not everything in the world's perfect, you know. And pendulums can actually be really cool if you just learn to appreciate it and sit back and think, what other card game does something like this? And how much has Yu-Gi-Oh developed over time, and look at how cool it is now. And just look at the combos you can make and how they're so cool and how they are possible. And just, I think pendulums just should learn to be appreciated and stop being hated on. And I'm sure you don't want to listen to me sit here ranting on about this topic, but honestly, pendulums are perfectly fine. You just need to learn to respect them, and that's pretty much it. I don't like the rule where no first turn pendulum summon applies. I just don't think that should be a thing, just because of it can kill so many decks, and it practically makes pendulum summoning useless. Again, for many reasons, and including the one where OTKs are a common thing and how they meant to defend themselves against a OTK orientated deck. So that is it for my pendulum, no first pendulum turn summoning stuff. I'm gonna go over to a couple side things which I just wanted to talk about real quick. Apparently the rumors saying that there's going to be a fourth deck. We currently have 3 decks, the main deck, side deck, and extra deck. And there being a fourth deck, I don't know what they could really do. Honestly, the only thing I can think or imagine it would be is something on the lines of dimension dueling, where if something happens, you can just special summon the monster from the other deck, or something like that. Maybe a spell card that can only be activated in certain situations, or I don't know, there's something on those lines where it's just something which you don't draw and you don't use. It's just situational, because I don't really see what else that could be, because the monster traps, the synchronicities and all that, and you use monsters to create other monsters, and the game's just fairly balanced and makes sense in my opinion. And another deck, I don't really know what it could be, you know. Leave theories down in the comments, because I kinda want to know. I just have no idea what it is, so it's kinda interesting. And another thing I want to quickly talk about is, at the time of recording this, Yu-Gi-Oh! 6 has not had its name revealed. At least I don't think it is. Anyway, apparently, well, not apparently, people were speculating people were trying to theorize and speculate new summoning mechanics, and personally, I don't think summoning mechanics should be touched. I think it's perfectly fine the way it is. I love the game in its current state, and any more would just overdo it. I think it's perfect how it is. Everything's amazing, and anything more would just be overdone, you know. If they need to, if they want to work on anything, I say ritual. Give them more cards on the line of Necrods, where ritual spells aren't so useless and the ritual monsters have more added effects. And I love the Necrods archetype and how it works, and I just think that they should really take inspiration off of that into other ritual decks. And I think that's the only thing that really needs to be worked on. If they do that, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is perfect, 100% perfect in my opinion. And I know you can say, but it'll get too boring and stale. No, dude, the game's amazing, and anything more, I just think it's too much. And I never really minded. I didn't mind Xyz and Synchro. At first with Xyz, I was like, how does this work? And then after time, I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like, I love all the mechanics. I think they're amazing. I don't think there needs to be anything more at all. None of this fucking sort of pendulum spell trap thing that people sometimes talk about. Nah, I think it's perfect how it is. Nothing needs to be touched. Anything more will just overdo it, you know. And sure, they can prove me wrong, but I just love the current day state of the game, and anytime in the future will always remember this as being my favorite point in the game. And I know that for a fact because I just love it and everything about it. So anyway, I think that is it for everything I have heard rumor wise that I've discussed in this video. If you guys have any separate information, leave it in the comments for me. I'll check it out. Also, if there are any other videos you want to do this, what you want me to do this on, leave them in the comments down below. Also, leave your thoughts, opinions, and theories of everything I've talked about this video in your comments below. And if you actually want these rules to be applied, personally, I don't with either of them. I think the game's amazing how it is. Also, I didn't have any footage of me dueling, so I just used some spectator duels that I spectated for you guys. I hope you guys don't mind that at all. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this off here, so I do hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to smash your thumbs up down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Let me get a pop when the beat goes.